What's up, podcast fam? Welcome back, or welcome if you are a new listener to the Uniquely Wired podcast. I am your one and only host, Nani, and I'm so excited that you decided to check this podcast out and this episode. And today, I want to talk about something that just hits home for me, and that is understanding ADHD. I feel like I just hear the word ADHD just being thrown around. I don't know about you, but like if I'm in public, people would just say, "Oh my God, um, I must have ADHD." And part of me, it's like it makes me low key a little mad. I don't even know how to explain it to where it makes sense because again, I feel like it makes sense in my brain, but it might not make sense. um So, anyways, I just feel like we might use that word just freely. We may just say, oh, yeah, they have ADHD, or like, I actually might have ADHD, or we all have a little bit of ADHD. That honestly makes me a little mad. And like I said, I don't know how to explain it to where it will make sense, but trust me, it makes sense in my brain. Um, but I just want to quickly just say, by the way, have my notes with me just so I can stay on track. But I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until last year when I was 30 years old. I will be 32 already. So I was 30. And really, what pushed me to get the diagnosis was one, both of my kids are autistic. My husband is self diagnosed autistic. Um, and I know one of my brothers was diagnosed in his mid 20s with autism and ADHD. And I know my mom is also diagnosed with ADHD. I mean, she was diagnosed at a much younger age, but I just felt like, okay, um, the more I've researched ADHD and the more I took a dive into it, I was like, oh my gosh, like this makes sense. Like I need to somehow take like a test or something and ask my therapist about it and see how can I go about it and all the things, you guys. Long story short, I was able to complete this test online. um, I'm going to try and find the link and put it in the description below. If y'all don't see it in the description down below, then that means I could not remember what the link was. But I promise that I'm going to try my hardest to get that link for you guys, especially if you feel like, oh my gosh, I want to get tested for ADHD. I want to understand myself a little better. And I feel like the more I've researched ADHD, I was like, oh my gosh, that's me. Oh my gosh, I do that too. Oh my gosh, I struggle with that as well. And I felt like I was like, okay, at this point, girl, just get tested. And what's the worst thing that can happen? That you get diagnosed? Wow. Okay. So, anyways, for most of my life, I felt like I had to try so hard to try and complete things. And I've mentioned this before on this podcast, but I feel like, especially when I was younger, I struggled so much academically. And I always felt like my brain just worked different. It just, it processed things differently. It thought different. I will have like out of the box thoughts and ideas. And a lot of the times I was afraid to share those because I mean, I just thought I was the only one with those thoughts in my brain. And I thought maybe people were going to think that I was a little weird. Um, but, anyways, it wasn't until adulthood that I realized um, this wasn't just about being distracted or scatterbrain, right? Um, it was ADHD. It was ADHD, my friends. And suddenly, so much of my life just started to make sense. It just started to make sense. Um, and the missed deadlines, the emotional overwhelm, I feel like this one is a big one for me. The mental exhaustion, and also the creativity, the empathy, and the deep way I feel things. Because you have to understand when you have ADHD, and my therapist actually reminded me of this the other day when I was having my session with her. you feel things 10 times more than that of the average person or the typical person. Like you feel things so much deeper because to you, it becomes such a big deal, right? And let me just give a quick example. The other day, I was so upset because I door dashed breakfast for my husband and I. And I have been craving these potatoes. You know, they put like a specific cream in it, um, and bacon, but the bacon is like sweet, caramelized. I don't know. I mean, it's just so good, y'all. The moral of the story is that I was really craving those potatoes, and I said, this is where we're ordering from, and that is it. Got it, right? And we know the DoorDash is expensive. Could I have gone pick it up because the restaurant that I ordered from is literally like 10 minutes from me? But yeah, I was being lazy and I was like, I need it. Bring it. That's it. So, y'all, I was so excited about my potatoes that guess what? They forgot my potatoes, which was the main reason, okay, the main reason I even DoorDash from this restaurant because I was craving those potatoes. Yes, they didn't forget my French toast, but I still wanted my potatoes, right? I was just craving like that sweet and savory taste at the same time. And so I was just so upset. And I remember I became so hyper focused on those potatoes because I really wanted the potatoes that I was let down. I was let down and it became such a big deal to me. And I got upset. I got upset. And then my husband tried asking me something or telling me something. And I spazzed on him. I spazzed on him. And then after the fact, I felt so bad. I remember telling my therapist this. I felt genuinely so bad because, first of all, it wasn't his fault. Second of all, um, it's just potatoes. Why am I so upset and so sad that they forgot my potatoes? Why? And then I'm calling them and they're like, well, we don't see an order with the name Nani, like da da da. It might have been another location. I'm like, are you kidding me? Can you transfer me to the other location? Like, yo, when I tell you I was so mad. But all that to say that, like, literally my emotions, there's that part of my brain in the back. I forget what it's called, but there's that part of your brain when you have ADHD that's like fight or flight mode, right? You're just like ready to act. Maybe you're responding to something from the past, whatever the case may be. And then you have the front of your brain, right? Where it's supposed to figure things out for you. Yeah, it was not figuring it out. This part was just overcoming it. And I was just, after the fact, so mad at myself for getting mad. That ever happens to you? Like, you get mad at yourself for being mad. Because at the end of the day, it really wasn't such a big deal. Like, I could have just gotten over it. The good thing is, I will say the story ended good because DoorDash, I ended up calling them, you know, customer service, and they just put like $15 credit in my DoorDash account, and I was able to reorder the potatoes, and it paid pretty much for everything, the delivery, all the things. But still, like in the heat of the moment, I was just so upset. I was like, I'm never getting my potatoes. That's it. This was a waste of money. This was a waste of time. Like, what am I doing? But it took so much of me. And I'm learning that when something is getting ready to set me off and make me so angry to the point where I'm like spazzing on others and I really don't want to hurt other people's feelings, I am trying to figure out ways to where I can detach from the situation and figure out how to de-escalate my emotions. And so what I ended up doing was just going up to my room and I just went under my covers and I just closed my eyes and just took a deep breath and a deep breath out. Like I am still trying to figure myself out, guys. And I get emotional because this is so deep to me. Like, I am really trying to understand my brain. I'm really trying to understand myself and finding strategies to help me. But I also don't want to dismiss my feelings. I want to be able to acknowledge my feelings. And I feel like my husband is also still like learning me and that part of me, which is my ADHD. Um, because I feel like after I got my diagnosis, I am now like, okay, like I have ADHD. I have to also acknowledge that I need help and I need to figure out strategies and tools that can help me to de escalate. Or when I feel that I'm getting to that point, then figure out a way to not get to that point, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure myself out. But, anyways, let's just really quick break down what ADHD really is. So, it stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Um, it isn't about lack of attention. ADHD is not about lack of attention. It's about how attention is regulated. Okay, so our brains are constantly filtering information. For someone with ADHD, that filter works differently. It's like having 10 browser tabs open, all playing sound at the same time, and you're trying to figure out which one to focus on. And this happens to me a lot when I'm like with my friends and I'm like having conversations. All of a sudden, something like comes to mind and I have to say it. And so I am learning to like control my thoughts and like, because listen, God definitely does not want you to have your thoughts all around the world, like all over the place. I said all around the world. Anyways, all over the place. Like God definitely wants you to take your thoughts captive and surrender that to Him. And so I am learning to do that as well, to submit my ADHD to God, to submit my thoughts to Him, as silly as that may sound, but like literally have God guide my thoughts and regulate my thoughts, regulate my focus. Like I really want to be able to focus. And so it hurts me in the moment. I don't think about it because it's all happening, but after the fact I'm like, I am dealing with so much guilt because I start telling myself, well, you should have never said that. You should have let that person finish their conversation. You just cut them off. How rude of you. And this happens to me a lot. So I am just saying sorry in advance if we've ever had a conversation or if we ever end up having a conversation and I completely cut you off because something came to mind or something absolutely distracted me in the middle of our conversation. Like, trust me, my intentions are not to make you feel like what you're saying it's not important or that your feelings doesn't matter. It's something that a lot of the times I just can't control. It happens, you guys, in such a fast like speed. Like I don't even know how to explain it. That just know it's not intentional. It's not. So I do want to share. Sorry, I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say chair. Anyways, I do want to share that there are three main types of ADHD. Inattentive type, where focus and organizations are harder. And then there is the hyperactive active impulsive type, where restlessness or acting before thinking can show up. This is me. And then I have both, but I would say I lean more to the hyperactive impulsive type. And then there's the combined type, where both play a role. I was told I have like the combined type, like I have both the inattentive type and the hyperactive type. And so I definitely focus is harder for me for sure, but I would say organization, I have to say like I don't really struggle with organization like that. I feel like I'm pretty organized. Um yeah, I don't think I'm like disorganized. I mean, I do have my days, but this is not something that I would say I struggle with. I think it's just part of being a mom, being a wife, being an entrepreneur, like all the things, right? But yeah, I was told I have both. I'm combined. And for many women, especially moms, ADHD looks different. It's not always loud or visible. Sometimes it's internal. The mental clutter, the self-doubt, the exhaustion from constantly masking or trying to appear together. I feel like when I'm in public or I get invited to a speaking event or just any type of event, I tend to mask a lot my ADHD because I want to make sure I fit in with everyone else and I'm not being extra or weird. So a lot of the times even the things that comes to my mind, I won't even say it because I want to make sure that I'm not ruining that event for whoever is hosting it. So that's a struggle as well because then I feel like I become so overstimulated by the time the event is done. And while I'm in the event, that eventually I'm just gonna burst out and it's not gonna be fun. Um Now let's talk about faith and ADHD. Listen, God still works through our wiring. That's what I put on here. God still works through our wiring. um, when I first got my diagnosis, I wrestled with guilt, you guys. I wrestled with guilt. I wonder why I couldn't just get it together like everyone else. But God began to show me something powerful. He doesn't make mistakes in how He designs our brain. Okay? He doesn't make this mistakes in how He designed our minds, our thought process, the way we think things through, the way we do things. He doesn't make a mistake. And I love this verse, which is found in Psalm 139, verse 14, where it says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. This means even our neurodivergent wiring, the parts that feel messy, inconsistent, or misunderstood, were still made with intention. Thank you, Jesus. Like, my brain was still made with intention. When I looked at my kids, they were made with intention and with purpose, on purpose. And I'm always brought back to that verse. And I feel like people read that and sometimes they may feel like, well, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, but I don't know why I still got to struggle with this. Why do I still struggle with that? Okay, it does not say He made you perfect. Okay, it does not say He made you perfect. It just says He made you in His image. He made you fearfully and wonderfully made. Okay, for His good and perfect will for your life to be fulfilled. Like, just because your life and your children don't look the way like your friends' children and their life does not mean that you were a mistake. And for so long, I felt that way. And I knew that that was not coming from God because God will never guilt you. God will never shame you. God will never make you feel fear or doubt. Like, He won't. That's just not the God that He is. And so ADHD might make focus harder, but it also brings creativity, innovation, and empathy. And I'm thankful for my ADHD. Believe it or not, as crazy as it may sound for some people, but I'm thankful for my ADHD because I feel like I wouldn't be as creative as I am, and I wouldn't be able to do all the things that I'm good at doing without having ADHD. Like, that's crazy. So God can use those same traits for His glory. So of course, I make sure I use this creative part of my brain um for the world, of course, but also for God, also to glorify His name. Um and so let me just give you a few reminders before I end this episode because again, I just wanted to keep it short, sweet, and simple and straight to the point. But living with ADHD, grace for the journey. So if you're listening today and you have ADHD, I want you to pause and give yourself grace and tell yourself, look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am not a mistake. I am not a mistake. God made me fearfully and wonderfully made. But also, if you suspect that you might have ADHD, also give yourself grace. You are not lazy, okay? You are not broken. You were just created different. Your wiring works different than other people. I mean, how amazing is God that He decided to choose you and I, right? To think differently and process things differently than the rest of the world. I feel like I'm maybe just a little more special to God. Okay. The, please, some people will take this out of context, but I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like God really saw me fit to mother my children who are on the spectrum. And even though life doesn't look the way I anticipated it to look like, it's still a good life. And I still have a reason to be thankful. I still have a reason to give God praise and to find gratitude in the midst of our journey and what we go through. But here are a few reminders that have helped me, and I really just hope and pray that they help you. And that is, you can love Jesus and still forget things. A girl, boy, okay? You can still love Jesus and still forget things. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, God is not going to disown you because, oh, she forgot to do the laundry last week, or she forgot to pay this person. Like, that's silly to me. Like, God is not going to be like, oh, no. Listen, his word says that there are no condemnations for those who are in Christ. So please. The next reminder would be that you can be disciplined and still need structure and reminders. Like, you can be disciplined but still need structure and reminders, and that's totally fine. Um and the last but not least is you can be called and gifted even when your brain doesn't work like everyone else's. And this one is a big one for me. So, because I know I'm called, I know I'm gifted, I know God has blessed me and entrusted me with so many things for his kingdom and for his glory. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like, okay, maybe I'm just the weird one out of the crowd. I'm just the weird one in the group. But that's okay because again, God still chose me. Um, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to use planners, use timers, medication, or therapy. Those aren't weakness, they're tools. And God has made a way for those tools to be made available for you and I. God gives us wisdom and resources. So always remember that. And this is not just for you if you have ADHD or you assume or you suspect that you may have it, but even for those of us that are autism moms or autism dads. Like, God gives us the wisdom as parents and also the resources. And sometimes we have all the help in front of us because he has provided us with it. And for whatever reason, we still won't go with it and get that help and use the resource. I don't know why. Because we might feel like we don't have enough faith just because we're using the resources that God has put in front of us. Make it make sense. So I personally, I go to therapy. Well, I do it virtually, so I do take therapy. I do use timers big time. I have a lot of alarms set up because otherwise I would just forget it. I will forget it, or I will become so hyper focused on one task that I forget about the other three things that I had lined up for the day. So I definitely need timers. I personally don't use medication, not because I don't want to, but because I really don't need it. And I'm not the person to just abuse it or want to be on medication just because. That's just not me. So thankfully, I don't need medication. If it does get to the point where I need something to help me stay more focused, then of course. But I do believe I've come such a long way with structuring myself and just disciplining myself. That's a big one. And that was a big thing for me this year, 2025, to discipline myself, to be more structured with myself, not just with my kids. So I had to tell myself the same way that I am structured with my kids, the same way I have a routine for my kids, I need to have a routine in place for myself. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. I'm proud of myself for getting that done. So, friends, as I continue to understand my ADHD, I am learning to see it not as a limitation, but as a lens, a unique way I experience the world and connect with others. So if you've ever felt unseen, scattered, or too much, I want you to know you're not alone. God sees you. He understands the wiring of your mind better than anyone else ever would or could. And He can still do amazing things through your life just as you are. So, again, do not be afraid to seek that diagnosis. Do not be afraid to get on that medication. Don't be afraid to go to therapy. Just don't be afraid. Do what you have to do for yourself. I know if you grew up in a place where everything was like, oh, we need to pray this off. We need to pray for that to go. We need to make sure that this and that, or they're against medication, they're against therapy. Listen, I get it. I've been there before. And God had to really shift my mindset and just the way I see things. And when I tell you that it has been so helpful to be able to speak to a therapist, and right now I just meet with my therapist once a month because she really thinks like, listen, you have things figured out very well to be someone that has ADHD. And she's very proud of me. From like the first time I met her, she's like, you've come such a long way. So I got to give myself props for that. So right now I just meet with her once a month and she's just helping me with some strategies and giving me homework on things that I can start practicing and working on. Um, so that's just where I'm at, you guys. And, having these little fidgets, like I got this from Amazon. I want to order some more. So I'm going to put a link down below in the description if you want to check it out, where you can find these from. But again, it's Amazon. And if you type in like fidgets for adults, like these will come up and they're so good. I'm sad I lost my other ones. Like I need to see, that's the things that I feel like I need to be more organized with. So anyways, that is that, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Um, yeah, I'm thankful for this opportunity to be able to bring awareness and be vulnerable with you guys and share a little bit with you guys about my journey. So again, I will see you on the next episode of the Uniquely Wired podcast.